Welcome back to Cincinnati Soccer Talk. Live or recorded, whatever suits your fancy. We are happy to have you, and this season is starting to slowly roll. First soccer match back at TQL Stadium. That felt good, huh? We all walked in there with excitement. That March was back to being freaking huge, honestly. The supporter groups clearly did some off-season prep work to get things together. The stadium lines were just as long as last year. Things felt pretty freaking normal, didn't they? If you were not there, let me tell you, it was still a fun experience, especially when my only recent comparison was freezing and losing terribly in Austin. All I have learned so far in 2022 is February in Cincinnati kicks February in Texas's butt. Everything is bigger in Texas, including cold and misery. You're tuning into the main show, and we would love to hear from you. Comment live along with the show or hit us up on Twitter and Facebook later. You can even email us in late, way down the road. If you're listening to this show Wednesday, Thursday, feedback at CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com, and we share those comments with the staff, unless you say bad things about the host, in which case I stick them under a mattress and cry. But speaking of my staff, I will welcome them in. First, I heard him laughing a little bit earlier. Brian Weigel, welcome back. How you doing?
Wonderful. Unlike you suckers, I left at 90 plus 5, so I saw a draw. So
is that how that works? If a tree falls in the forest, it doesn't make a sound?
Allegedly, that's how it works. No, I took the family down. We had the 3 kids, my wife, and then my buddy and his 2 boys. Actually, we got some kids club tickets, and then they moved down to us. So we had a wonderful time down at the stadium. As I tweeted that was the most fun I think I've had at TQL besides the men's game. I unfortunately wasn't able to go to the women's game. I had like 8 tickets to that game and had emergency come up, so don't call me out. But yeah, man, the vibes are great. The Bailey was rocking. The tifo was incredible. And there was a lot of passion in the fans. Like I remember sitting at those games last year, just everybody's just like, terrible. But people were in it, man. And I really, again, it reinforces the belief that TQL Stadium is going to be a force when we're good. So it was a great time, and I'm just pumped to see how the guys responded. Unfortunately, the result, but I think there's a lot of hope to take from that game.
Mm-hmm. You always wonder how we're going to come off of such a bad season. Like, are the fans going to show? Are they going to be excited? Are they, especially when you lose 5-0 in Austin, are they going to be wiped out? And it felt like, I don't know, like the good old days there for a bit. Jason, I think you watched it on television.
No, I watched it in person, unfortunately. I was actually there.
Maybe it's Nate I'm thinking of. We'll get to that.
Yeah. But it was great to be there. It was great to be there for the home opener. I wasn't able to attend the home opener last year. And I kind of echo Brian's thoughts. Downtown, it was a beautiful day. Bachfest was going on. The Home and Garden Show was going on for all you suburbanites. And, there were tons of people downtown, tons of people in their orange and blue. And it was nice to get out to the stadium. You kind of wish we had at least ended with a point. But you know what? I got my White Claw. I'm ready to talk some FC Cincinnati soccer. It's going to be a good night tonight.
Did you go to the Home and Garden Show?
I did not. We thought about it, but,
You walked the aisles with your White Claw there. All right, Nate, you're the one watching. This is where I'm getting all backwards. You're the one watching from TV. How did it look and sound from your spot?
I mean, I wish I was there. It looked great. And then, seeing pictures of Bachfest, and I didn't see anything about the Home and Garden Show on Twitter, but, I'm sure that would have been appealing if I did. No, but it looked like a great atmosphere. And it was an improvement over week 1, which was an improvement over, a lot of the stuff we had to watch last year. So, I'm as optimistic as I think I could be after 2 matches and a minus 6 goal differential.
We have people on our
trending in the right direction
on our staff that lean positive, and we have people that lean pessimistic. And so I'm always interested to see. You definitely seem to see the bright side of things when things go well, I think.
Yeah, I think I've just been conditioned as a Cincinnati sports fan to, always find the silver lining. And I mean, whether or not this is true, I think it is. But it's a lot more fun to believe it at this point. And I think, and we'll get to it later, there are definitely some, tangible things on the field that you can point to and be like, this is moving in the right direction.
Cool. All right. Well, I reached out to my friends at Swearo X this week, because who doesn't just ring up their local sports drink sponsor and say hi? And they dropped some new news on us, though. Lemon lime flavor is out. It's apparently killing it on shelves. So head over to Amazon.com if they have any. Honestly, I was checking out the reviews just because, and oddly enough, found one that said right before this was released, he said, if they make a lemon lime and they do this subscribe and save on Amazon, it is game over for Gatorade. 0 sugar, 0 calories, healthy, win-win. I'm not sure if that guy ever got his subscribe and save wish, but lemon lime is indeed here. So that's my shout out. Not written solely by me, so I want full credit for that script. But now give Swearo X a chance if you haven't yet. All right, time to get into our best and worst. FC Cincinnati versus DC United. Brian Weigel, you brought the family. Give me the best and the worst of that experience.
Well, actually, I'm going to start with kind of the worst, and we'll kind of go worst, best, worst. The lines and having to balance families and kids and drinks and everything. So I missed 15, 20 minutes just standing in line. So that stunk, plus the lack of TVs during the first half because of whatever cyber attack happened at the stadium. But no, I really do. I think the positivity was, we had injuries. We had to switch to a new formation, and the response out of the team was great. You definitely, I think you definitely saw a little bit of a culture shift. We've been saying this ad nauseum, culture. But I really do think you're seeing that that change here at FC Cincinnati. Was there issues in the midfield still? Absolutely. Was there times where guys were running to the exact same spot and then we'd have no outlets? Absolutely. But I think you saw a lot of positives out of Yuya, out of Junior. Lucho wasn't on his best game, but still not awful. So I think that was a really great positive to have. My worst was just we didn't have the end product. We win the XG battle, we win the eye test battle, and we didn't carry it to 3 points. I think we played a really great first half. I think we did not play as good in the second half. Of course, you saw some of the younger guys coming in. You saw some legs getting tired. Just the depth of the rosters just not there, and I think we all kind of knew that. So a little bit challenging, but overall, I still think it was positive. It's another, I guess, just seeing that formation was just another, I guess, gun or another bullet in the barrel for Coach Noonan. So pardon my pun there, but it's something that we can do and maybe change things up. So I think that was pretty exciting to see a guy and Coach Noonan be a little bit tactically flexible, where we didn't see that at all with his predecessor. So I think that's positive too.
Yeah, can I jump in and build on that a little bit here? I think last year, as the team was really struggling at points, Stom really kind of bounced back to a 3 center back shape, and it really didn't work. So everybody was struggling to figure out what they were doing, and they really didn't defend any better than they did out of the 4-3-3. So after one preseason and then one regular season game, for the team to be able to adjust so rapidly to a new shape and a new, a lot of the ideas were the same, and they're still pressing high and doing a lot of the same stuff stylistically. But to do it with a third center back on the field and really not miss a beat, and to improve their performance from week 1, I thought was really promising. And that was also my best. So.
All right. Jumping right into it. I like it. Jason.
Yeah, sure. I'll kind of echo everybody's thoughts on the best. The press was working really well for FC Cincinnati this week. And I think one of the things that showed, if you kind of keep the pressure off of FC Cincinnati's back line, you're going to be successful. There was only a few times that they were really tested, and I think it was Tyler Blackett had that awesome save off the line earlier in the game. And then after that, there was really not a lot of opportunities given up to DC United. My worst, though, is missing opportunities to finish. The offside call notwithstanding, it was a good call. Looked bad from where I was, but it was a good call kind of watching the replay. And, we had several opportunities that I think we didn't take. Some of that might have been the fact that we were missing some of our better offensive guns out there for most of the match. But at the same time, you've got to score at home. You've got to get those 3 points. DC United set us up on a platter several times, and we just weren't able to finish. So it came back to bite us. And I was talking to a coworker today when he asked me about the game, and I mentioned that FCC deserved to win, but soccer is probably the only sport where the team that deserves to win doesn't necessarily win. In basketball, if you don't deserve to win, you're going to lose. Soccer, not necessarily the case. And unfortunately, that was the case for us this weekend.
Yeah, we got some comments here. Just want to real quick. Joseph said, here is the gauge this year. We praise the up matches this year in performance. We do not forgive the no call, no show, Austin type matches. We showed up at home versus DC. That should be the standard of performance. Go up, no way down. Joseph, I like it. I know what you're saying. You just don't want to relive some of those matches again. So yeah, if FCC can hold that, and that is the standard, they will win those games. They won't lose all of them in 6-minute extra time PKs. So that's exactly what you want to see. And then Joe Duncan said it was great seeing the coach and the whole team go around after the match applauding the fans. Last year, you only saw a few players do that. Yeah, I think they got a talking to, Joe. There was a lot of complaints from the people that traveled to Austin about, the players got beat 5-0. So obviously they weren't in the best mood and they just wanted to go back and deal with it. So there was some complaints I saw. So I think that they were told this time to make a point of it. But I'm sure being at home, having all those people cheer for you is actually great for them. I guess I'll jump into my bests and worsts. The best was doing the whole cycle, pre-gaming super early, going to supporter group bars. And then I did the entire march to the stadium. It's been a while since I've done the whole hoopla, and it felt good to kind of go through all of the motions. I think sometimes when you're mid-season, you just want to go to the stadium, grab your beer, and sit down. But it was pretty cool to. I think I checked out Dean and Stad's bar. They were on here last week, and that is a pretty neat place. It's humongous. It has 2 to 3 indoor areas, a giant outdoor area where you can put up umbrellas and drink beer outside. And what a lovely freaking day! It felt like 70 degrees San Diego here in Cincinnati. So. Great day for it. If you're looking for bars, I don't think you can go wrong between Northern Row, Stillhouse, any of these places that our supporters meet, and you'll be fine there. Worst, not to cycle back to all the stuff you guys said. I wanted to film a pretzel review. This was my main goal going to the game. Some people were going for the soccer. Some people were going for, to sit in the Bailey. I was going for a freaking pretzel. Because I wanted to know, are things going to be different in 2022? And by the time I get there, the pretzels are sold out in the First Financial Club. So I never got a chance. So it's coming. Don't worry. And then I know that some of the other podcasts might have beat me to the punch here, but I'm still going to do it. From what I hear, though, there are 2 pretzels in the stadium. There's one with a cheese filling. And then there's your standard salted pretzel.
You have your standard pretzels, and then you have the pretzels that are in the UDF grab and go. There's a bunch of different types of those, 3 or 4 different types there.
Oh, all right.
So I had heard
I'm just looking for your standard.
I had heard that Hellas Real was going to be in the stadium, and not that I looked very hard. So that's on me.
I saw it.
Where did you see it? Because
in the UDF grab and go areas.
Okay, so that's where I need to go here in a couple weeks when we play Miami. Then.
I did have Noonan's 7-layered nachos. They were all right, but man, they were spicy as all get out. So if you're not a spice fan, Do not get those nachos. They will burn your face off. All right.
This is Cincinnati concession talk.
Yeah, you want to talk about soccer?
Right.
You guys want to? I can go. I can keep going and tell you all the beers I had. And that's a long list. But let's talk about what all of our fans are asking us to talk about in the chat. FC Cincinnati, are they playing better, or is DC United that bad?
Both. I think that's a both there. No, I think you saw it in just the type of player that we have. We have smart players out there. Junior Moreno is not the best midfielder there is, but he knows where to be. He was snuffing out opportunities for DC, and especially more in the first half. I think was able to wreak a little havoc in there. So I thought that was very good. And then you see it, and I think he got a little winded towards the late in the game because he hasn't played much. But Dom Baji and how smart he is in making runs and providing outlets and running at the keeper, running at the defense. And I think that Brenner will get there and get more comfortable with Lucho and Baji and Vasquez. But I mean, I felt like this is the first time we had like a striker that was like, that looked dangerous like the entire time he was in there. Like, and I was so sad that he was pulled out of the game because I thought personally he was a little more dangerous than Vasquez, but I was very positive out of those two players that I really wasn't expecting a ton out of in this match. So I think those individual moments and then just more and more playing together, you're going to see a lot more improvement because as I said earlier in the show, how many times did you see Yuya and Lucho on top of each other, or Yuya and Junior on top of each other in that midfield? So, but I think we're getting there. I really do. I felt very optimistic for the first time in a long time.
Clifford sorry, Nate, but Clifford in the chat mentioned Gaddis. I thought him and Powell looked really good. And I'm stealing Clifford's comment, but I thought he and Powell looked really good. You know, keeping the ball forward, not allowing it to get into the back line that much. And that's really what FC Cincinnati needs from those two positions is, guys that can get wide, get the ball forward, and get it to Lucho to make something happen.
I want to say this about your comment, Jason. I think that they played well. I don't think they were very sharp.
No.
Like, I was trying to click it off there. I think like there's sometimes where you would saw Powell get up there, get that width on the side, and then kind of run out of little ideas. And I think there's like 3 or 4 guys right by me in 128 and 129 be like, use your feet, run. And he finally kind of did. He finally felt a little bit more comfortable, like 20 minutes in, kind of making some plays with his feet. So, but I do think that those guys are good, especially with Gaddis coming to play left wing back. And this guy's not an offensive player. No.
There was a play. I don't exactly remember when it was, but ball was on the right, and somebody hits a cross towards the back post. And I'm like, who's going to get on the end of that? And Gaddis had come all the way up from his spot at wingback and made a play on the ball. He didn't get it on frame, but like that's a run that we've never really seen, or I've never really seen an FC Cincinnati player make. It really seems like, regardless of if they're playing the 4-4-2 diamond, like in week 1, and I know they got blown out, but there were still some good ideas there, especially in kind of attacking patterns of play, or this 5-3-2. It just seems like everybody has an idea of what to do. Granted, like definitely guys are still kind of stepping on each other in midfield occasionally, but like they're getting the ball to Lucho in space in transition a lot of times, and Baji and Vasquez are making runs. A fullback is pushing high. They're able to switch the ball when they need to generate space. There's just like, you can see the foundations building. Like, not everything's perfect, but like this seems like a team that is so much better prepared, so much better coached. And this is just 180 minutes in. And they look better than they did all last year, basically. At least in creating repeatable patterns of attacking play.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't like versus Austin. The only times we really were successful is basically balls over their midfield to our forwards who were able to hold up play for 30 seconds and get a shot off, where we had sustained moments in and around the box. I think you saw it a lot more in the first half. It trailed off in the second half. I mean, you just see it in the possession stats too.
And I don't think this is a case of DC being bad.
Mm-hmm.
Are they going to be the Supporter Shield contender? Absolutely not. But they looked well. They looked pretty good against Charlotte in week 1. Granted, Charlotte's probably not going to be a very good team this year either. But, this is kind of where I think FC Cincinnati wants to be this year, is that DC level where you might be finishing 9th, 10th, 11th, but certainly not near the bottom. You're going to be fighting for that, middle of the pack in the Eastern Conference. And, that's the kind of team I want to see how we measure up against. And we measured up against them pretty good. Whereas it looks like Austin week 1 is not an aberration. They put up another 5 spot this past week too. So, there's no shame in that. I mean, there's shame, but not that much shame in that. But DC is a decent enough team to kind of measure ourselves against.
And like, if you would just ask somebody who didn't know what was going on, like wasn't aware that Losada was there last year, and you ask them what team looks more comfortable playing together, I think I would say that FC Cincinnati looked better yesterday or on Saturday, and more prepared and had some better moments of chemistry. Whereas you might expect DC United to be, a manager in their second game with the team.
I'll tell you what, though, I'd kill to have their 6 points.
100%.
Sometimes the game doesn't match the points. I kind of, it's hard not to feel that way coming out of Saturday.
And you look at DC though a little bit, is their goal is always going to be a tough, play tough on the road, be tough to beat on the road, and they were. I mean, we had some good shots, but give it to them that it's still. I mean, it was still a 0-0 game through 90 plus 5, and it took a handball for them to get 3.
Joe says, are we really that bad after our first match? Because Austin dropped another 5 on Miami. That's 10 goals in 2 games for Austin. You know what makes me really mad about that, though? It's their second year. Like, they were FC Cincinnati that flipped it really fast. So it's kind of the bummer for me.
It's the queso in Austin. Something in the queso.
It's like, I just want to go punch Matthew McConaughey now. Oh, man. Oh, there was a comment here I wanted to try to find. Oh, yeah. 2 moments stood out to me, David Moore says. Baji tracking back after missing the clearance, and Hags tracking back with a runner across the field to keep the pressure on. I honestly was surprised to see Hagelin out there for this home match. I mean, I know he's a Cincinnati kid and everything, but he wasn't really out there much versus Austin. So what do you think changed? Why the 3 center backs? Why Hags? And he played well.
Margarita hurt. Sorry, smart ass Brian there. Yeah, I mean, there's not a healthy left back, unfortunately, on the roster with Johnny Nelson, and who I believe is working back. I'm very excited to see him in the future. I think I'm very excited to see what he'll bring to the club. But yeah, I mean, Margarita, I don't know if he's a little injury that he wants to rest before their Costa Rica World Cup qualifiers here in a couple weeks, or if it was a legit injury. I don't know, but I feel better that Gaddis performed okay, and then the 3-back system still kind of worked. And when you have when you have those 3 center backs, and coach, and you guys can speak to it too, but you need guys that can play balls with their feet, and Blackett, Vicia, and Cameron can all do that when they're fully healthy. Hagelin is not the best passer, but I think he acquitted himself well on a couple plays out there. So yeah, excited to see him, and it just it gets me a little nervous too, is that he's now hurt. So what are we going to do? Is Ian Murphy going to get a start this upcoming week? That's a big ask for a kid who was playing college a couple months ago. So it's the depth and the youth that we're still going to have to rely on this year is going to be an issue, but could help us in the future.
Yeah, and I'm not sure what the timeline for Vicia is either. I think he's been one of the guys who's working on the side.
Yeah.
But
we'll see. Any other surprises out there starting this match for either of you guys? I think we
I don't know surprises. I think we still want to see where Isaac Atanga, Alvaro Barreal, and Brenner. I mean, I think those are huge question marks. Brenner, of course, or not Brenner. Barreal was on social media today, putting cryptic stuff out there. Don't know what that's about. Something to point out there is that Argentina's transfer window doesn't open until May. So for conspiracy theorists and everybody out there, keep that in mind. Watch me be proven wrong in tweets tomorrow. But yeah, I don't know. I thought Barreal looked good when he came on. Brenner, but yeah, we're gonna need those guys to somehow factor into this if we want any chance of finishing near 8th or 7th.
I have a plan for the next match, and this might be a little controversial. I know I'm going to stir some things up by saying this, but we make sure that Cameron gets his Fauci ouchies before the next match, so he can't raise his arms up because your arms are sore for the good of the team.
God. People are going to spit out their coffee on Tuesday morning when they listen to that.
Get one in each arm.
Just the full, yeah.
Oh yeah, I will bring it up.
Oh man,
we might as well talk about the handball, I guess. So there's a handball right at the end of the match. Cameron looks to be running. He's not shielding himself or blocking the ball or anything. He's running. But what's the call there? Are you calling it a handball? Because there was a little bit of discussion in our.
I can see it both ways. I mean, in the heat of the moment, I didn't see it, and then in the replay, it was one of those where
no one did it. It was a call from New York, right?
And when you see the replay, the homer in me says no, it's not a handball. But I kind of feel like if they're gonna go to VAR and have the center official look at it, then it's gonna be a handball.
Yeah, and if it doesn't get called, it's we're sitting here being like, man, they got away with one.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of those calls from like the game continued and then it was like somebody calling in like, hey, you need to go check that out. Like, cause it's not the players. No, like the players weren't really asking for it. The referee wasn't asking for it. Like with the previous play where Cincinnati got a call, that was one where the player said, hey, you need to look at this. And he went over to the sideline, looked at it. And
talking about the red card.
Yeah.
So I was surprised about that one, but I was also miffed about the offside call.
Offside call was a good call.
He was off.
He was off by like a step and a half. The red card.
We don't get the lines, unfortunately, but
yeah,
it was
the red card. I saw a couple calls like that around the league too, where guys had put their foot up and in the heat of the moment, it didn't look that bad, but then they were told to go back. So maybe that's a point of emphasis this year around the league is to watch out for that sort of thing.
Yeah. Well, keep your hands down, your studs down, keep everything down.
Yeah. My biggest issue though, I felt like, and normally when I see how much extra time we have left, I start a timer on my phone just because I'm a nerd like that. But I felt like the game should have been over a little bit before Cameron even had the chance to commit a handball. Now I know DC was time wasting and that may have played into it a little bit, but that was my biggest, point of contention there.
We had corner kicks galore, free kicks, opportunities in that match that, in extra time and throughout the whole match that I think we had kind of kick ourselves. It's almost wish you could sub Harrison to take some of those versus Lucho coming up short. But we had chances, man. And those are all missed opportunities that I think if we are out of the playoffs by the finest of margins, I think this is one of those games where you circle and be like, damn it.
If we're missing the playoffs by the finest margins, I think everybody here and everybody listening would be like, "This is a great season."
Means we get somebody in the summer, right? Hopefully, or sooner.
That's a lot of wins to talk about.
Yeah, we won a competitive FC Cincinnati, right? At the end of the day, we want what we saw versus DC more than we want what we saw versus Austin for sure. Although I'm not 100% sold that those were drastically two different teams, just that opportunities were flukier and capitalized on more there. But the one thing I did think was a lot stronger was the midfield. What changed between Austin and DC that made the midfield that's that much stronger, in your opinion? I thought Powell had an absolutely fabulous game.
Was it the lack of Alan Cruz?
You
Is
said
the
it, not
lack of
me.
Alan Cruz?
Okay. I'm just coming in hot today.
Well, it's telling though is that they put in the rookie versus the $1 million man right away. That's a message being sent. So yeah, you need. I guess when you have three guys in the midfield like that, you need all of them to cover ground, and that is a little difficult for us because Lucio and Yuya aren't the best defenders, but I still think Yuya does okay.
Yuya did a ton.
Yeah.
I mean, like he'll still give you like maybe over pursuing or taking a bad angle or something, but he wins so many tackles and just intercepts so many passes.
He's a smart player. He's a smart player. But yeah, having Robledo come in over Cruz is a message being sent.
Yeah. And like I think they could have, even with the injury, you could have played the same setup you played against Austin, just with Gaddis at left back, and you leave Cruz in there and you don't play a third center back. But obviously Noonan and his coaching staff thought that something needed to change.
Yeah, I mean that's the biggest difference on paper to me. I don't know how you can't look at the roster and say, "Oh wow, that was a big change that was made." And you're right, that's $1 million on the bench, and
there's a lot of money on that bench.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. Were you the one that said that before
Brad.
the game? Because I had to go back and look at the lineup and was like, "Oh yeah, Brenner, Barreal, Cruz."
A lot of money on that bench.
There was a lot of money on that bench to start the game. Which, of course, the first two I mentioned are because of still fitness issues.
Yeah,
which I'm sure we'll see more of. Did anyone change your mind up top really quick? Baji, Vasquez, Brenner. If you had to change, are you flipping anything next game?
President of the Dom Baji fan club.
I think
I mean Brenner. It's got to be Brenner. Just like even if the talent isn't there right now, the amount the club has invested in him, you have to give him every opportunity to get better. And I think he probably is better than either of those guys once he's up to fitness and once he's in the system. So I think I don't really care who it is. I think it's Brenner and either one. Maybe you can play with matchups a little bit. But it's a much better situation to be in than we were last year, where it was Brenner and nobody.
No one.
So we have, if you need to switch it up, like I said, based on matchup, or if one of those guys gives you a really strong 60 minutes, you'll have either Dom Baji or Brandon Vasquez to come off the bench and actually affect a game, which is a good place to be.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat with you all. I'm interested to see if this. David brought it up in the chat, but I'm also interested to see if this 5-3-2 formation lasts more than 1 week. Like, how long are we going to go? Is it till we get some guys back from injury? And if that's the case, if we're playing two up top, which I think we should all year, obviously Baji and Brenner should be our top two. But I thought Vasquez looked really good. I think he and Baji complement each other really well. Vasquez was making some pretty good runs, had a few really good looks, but I think Baji brings that experience that you really want between Vasquez and Brenner.
Yeah, Nate, you had a great breakdown, I thought, after the game. You put out an XG chart, kind of like how this game compared to other FC Cincinnati games. And you were making a point of how well the XG performed for just a certain series of games. I made a point of like, this looks like our fourth best game ever.
Yeah.
I don't know if I misread it.
So, but yeah, the single game XG caveat stuff, like small samples, and it's not always representative of the chances in a game because it's only counting shots. But yeah, so I pulled down every match they've played since 2019, since they joined MLS. And I have the sheet open right now. There are 24 matches where FC Cincinnati has finished with a positive non-penalty XG difference in the game. And Saturday's was in the top 10. So as sad as it is to say, this was kind of one of the best performances since they joined MLS. So, like I said, this foundation is being built, and maybe we're starting to see it on the field. I know winning the XG belt, not going to win you a supporter shield. But it's a lot easier to win games when you're finishing with a positive XG differential than when you don't.
If you're listening to us and you're screaming at your radio, but they still lost, we agree. We hear you. FC Cincinnati now needs to find a way to put balls in the back of the net, because that was an issue sometimes last year. It's an issue at the beginning of this year. They create a lot of opportunities. They do not finish, and they have too much money in the front of their, really in the front three, front five, whatever you want to call it, to be wasting opportunities. I mean, there was a layup in this game that was missed. So just something we are fully aware of as well, and we would like to just point out, call it like we see it every once in a while. All right, guys, anything else with the game, or can I move on?
Go ahead, pal.
All right. Our show, by and large, is supported by you. We get sponsors like SquareX, and we appreciate that. And but the chunk of our support is via Patreon now, and we thank all of you fans that support us thick and thin. And you've really supported us through the thin, so we know you're going to be there for the good days as well. We have a Growler Cup ongoing, and it is tight. There are still no runaway winners here, so we will get those scores updated for everyone that is waiting on them, as well as the new week. If you want to participate, it's only week 3. No one is far enough ahead that they cannot be caught, and probably won't be for a few more weeks anyway. CST is free. It's free for all fans. We kind of just put this out here for anyone that wants to help us out. And so that's why we do this segment. And we want to give a special shout out for those that are helping us out currently. Ree Lee, John Davidson, Mike Hudson, Robert Stevens, Laurel Failer, Matthew Adamczyk, Buddy Taylor, Riley Stephen Burke, James Denbrough, Tom Newhouse, Brian Brad Weigel, Brian Gillis, Dan Alberts, Will Kajacek, Ian Rexroad, Augustus Caceres, Bill Antonitis, Carl Feit, Jeremy Strand, Kyle Pohl, Christina Sharma, Rupesh, Mike Hudson, Mike Bezeldorf, Jason, who is super average, John Haskell, Ryan Ernst, Mary Lou, Rob Pierce, Clifford Adams, Thomas Seth, Pierce Johnston, Mike Prentice, Mr. and Mrs. Wiederhold, Rob Griselle. Let's see here. And we have brand new. I think we mentioned this on the live show, but I wanted to make sure I give you a clearer shout out because of all the background noise, etc. Kevin Day, Jamie Smed, Alex Canardis. If you guys want me to say your name correctly, you can always message me. If you want me to butcher them like some of you do, then we shall continue. David Tingler, Patrick Lahani, Mike Bowman, Brett Sova, Chris Hubbard, and then as of February new. Let's see here. No, that's it. That's it. We got them all. Cool. Someone has already updated these for me, so I appreciate that. You can support us at CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com/support, or just head over to our Patreon and let's search us up that way. All right, Brian, you mentioned it at the top of the show. I just kind of wanted to bring it up. FC Cincinnati had little stadium problems. No national anthem, no music. They said a transformer blew. I think they put out with everybody. I heard a lot of comments on Twitter digging the no music part of that.
Yes, liking it, you mean?
Yeah.
Correct.
There are a lot of people that I think some people like the national anthem, some people don't. But overall, the pumping up music, there was an element of just hearing the Bailey and just hearing the fans around you that was kind of old fashioned. I liked it.
Certainly, especially like I know, like I'm directly across from the Bailey, and you can hear the Bailey, but it's not like crazy loud like when you're over there on that half of the field. But yeah, I mean, everybody was like, okay, well, we got to be loud during this. That was kind of cool to see people kind of getting it, and I think it set the tone for a lot of the game.
Yeah, I agree. It was a really cool atmosphere. So it's interesting. Before, in a past life, I spent 10 years working in athletics, so I've got tons of game management experience. And when that happened right before the national anthem, that part of me had a small panic attack for the people with FC Cincinnati, because I've been there when things go haywire. But it kind of came off really cool to have, the only thing that was missing was the PA announcer for the starting lineup. I think that would have been cool with no music, but
Yeah,
everything else was
we
really
started
awesome.
yelling, Brenner.
Yeah, that part was great, but they handled it like professionals.
Yeah, no PA announcer, but that was the only awkward. But that actually I did not notice until we were saying names. That's how late I was to the party. And then I was like, wait a minute, we didn't do the national anthem. Wait a minute, what's going on? So I do feel bad for whoever had to sing the national anthem and no one heard them. That part probably stunk. But overall, comments seem to be favorable towards no music. No music is winning over music. If you attend a game, Nate, what's your preference? The silent treatment?
I don't know. I don't think I've ever really been in the situation to see what it would be like. I do know that the my sole experience at TQL Stadium was USA Mexico, and that national anthem sounded like there was no sound just because the crowd was so loud. And that was
the
awesome.
crowd did do that one.
But yeah, no, I get the no sound, keep it simple, especially when you like have the Bailey being loud, and that seems like a great atmosphere.
Like most things, the truth's probably somewhere in the middle. There's probably a sweet, happy compromise somewhere.
I was just about to say, Jason, we worked in college athletics for how long, and there's always a happy medium, especially at basketball games, where you have the music and then you have the pep band. So there's a happy medium there. And I think it would be nice to. I personally love hearing the Bailey. So any more chance that we have to get those guys out in front of the Knights of the Bailey, hell, it could be a drum riff with those guys. I just I like that.
Real quick, I wanted to mention the tifo. We had the picture up.
Yes.
I think opening our show was
Beautiful
awesome.
Tifo.
If you haven't seen it, I think it's also the front image on our match recap. So if you go to CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com, just pull up our match recap. You'll see it right there. Jason wrote our match recap, so obviously read that. Check it out for him. Oh yeah, I'm sorry, Jeff Wallner did. You wrote the pre-match. That's right. So either way, check that out. And pretty good stuff over at the website. They made T-shirts of that tifo. They're on sale, and they support Bootsy Collins Foundation. Am I correct there?
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to help a good cause and wear a super cool shirt that is totally fan inspired, that is a neat way to do it. And there's not many ways you can do that. You're buying FCC merch. You're buying it from the club, MLS, Cincy shirts, some other local business. This is all fan created, so that's kind of neat. Brian, I had an interview this week with Tyrone Marshall for FC Cincinnati 2. If you want to load that up, I want to give a quick disclaimer for our fans that I was at work using a headset, so this audio will not be as good as the audio you're hearing right now, unfortunately. I'm going to try to load something in new afterwards, but for those of you listening on the podcast, so bear with us and hopefully you enjoy this interview. And I'm joined now by the head coach of FC Cincinnati 2, Tyrone Marshall. Tyrone, thanks for joining us here at Cincinnati Soccer Talk.
Hey, thanks for having me.
And so I think the big question on Cincinnati fans' mind is, what is FCC2? I know it was an initiative put together by MLS to launch a new league, sort of in that pyramid, that soccer pyramid of the third level, kind of where the USL Championship used to be.
Yeah.
And FCC2 was supposed to be a part of it. And then fans, we kind of wondered, is it coming? And then it finally, the news came out that it is launching and you are the head coach. So give us some early breakdown, I guess.
Yeah, so first of all, I'm excited for this fantastic opportunity from Cincinnati, given the opportunity to come in and coach FCC2. And it's going to be an extension, obviously, of the academy and also the first team. So we're going to be that bridge team, so to speak. We're going to have young, hopefully exciting, talented players that are on the verge of transitioning up the first team, or on the opposite side, exciting players that are transitioning from the academy that would give them a buffer zone to, get their games in, get their minutes in, get their training in terms of, the professional environment. And that's what FCC2 is going to be. We're looking to groom the 17 to 20-year-old players, the young players, so we can send those guys up to Pat Noonan to to have them available to throughout on Saturday afternoon, so the fans can be excited about them. So that's what FCC2 is going to be about. Developing young, talented players. To give Pat Noonan and the first team an opportunity to have a wider variety of talented players to choose from come Saturday afternoons.
So your team debuts in about 3 weeks, I think. How complete is the roster, and how difficult is it to familiarize yourself with the group in such a short runway?
Well, the good thing is right now we're still building and evaluating talents. We're trying to go through and do this building process diligently. There's going to be a combination of academy players as well as players that are going to be signed to FCC2, and we also can incorporate younger players that are in the first team at the moment. So we're going to have a collection of talented players that we're going to use to combine until obviously we can build out our roster. But in the meantime, we're going to have to use a little bit of the first team players and a little bit of the academy players and the guys them who we can sign to the second team, just to at least get us through the first 10 games and go from there.
In the past, we've seen players loaned out to other places in the USL. Does this give Cincinnati an opportunity to keep things closer to home, where they can keep maybe a better eye on their players?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the whole purpose of this team. So you can have someone here in the second team that's getting minutes, keep him close. For example, we have a great situation this week with Evian Flanagan, who has been part of the group from before. But, he was here with us in the second group, and, Pat wanted someone to come up and train, for example. So he was available to come up and fill that void. So it's a great scheme that we have going here, where we have guys who are close to us, close to the first team. So once Pat say, hey, we need a guy, they're available, and that's the whole idea behind it, is to have them readily available when the first team needs them.
Okay. So I know New York Red Bulls comes to mind when you think of a system that is all the way through an organization. Is FC Cincinnati looking to it, like, for example, is Pat Noonan telling you, train these guys in the way I like to play soccer so they can plug into the first team better, or are you doing something different?
No, it's all a collaborative effort. We're going to try to make sure that we're mirroring everything that the first team is doing. Obviously, this first year is going to be a transition year. We're trying to figure out exactly what we're doing, having the right personnel in place, because we're new. We have a new coaching staff in the first team. They're trying to get the personnel that they want in the first group. Likewise, with us, we want to make sure the profiles are right. So we have it from the first team and also in the academy as well, because you want those guys who are coming up from the academy to come to the second team. We have that profile. And the guys who are already in the first team that they do come in and play with at times, they understand the concept and the ideas, in the second team. So again, we want to be that model where from the academy to the second team to the first team, we're all aligned.
Okay. So what does success look like then? Is it winning games, or is it developing players for the first team? Like, in your mind, what are you trying to achieve with this club?
Yeah, so in my mind, success is being having a young player from the academy coming through to the second team and then going on to the first team and winning championship. That would be success for me. That's where I see success in my mind, is having the end product going into the first team and we're being successful. The second team, if you have that going, that pipeline, so to speak, set up, you're going to have success as well in the second team, right? But it's just creating that pipeline now. Where we find the right talented players, the pool of players, the right profiles, so we can continue to develop them. And this is just a stop along their path, And we're hoping that when they do stop here, we can give them that the insight and the knowledge that they're going to need, to go on to the first team and be successful. And that's what we are as well. We obviously measure that by the amount of guys that we can send up to the first team, and they stay there and contribute to the first team. That's again is another successful path that we would like to create moving forward.
Yeah, sounds pretty great. You coached the academy previously, and then you moved into an interim head coach for the first team, and now MLS Next. what benefits do you think that gives you being on all levels of this organization?
Yeah, well, I tell you what, when I came here from Real Salt Lake, the idea when I got the opportunity to come join FC Cincinnati was to look ahead to join the second team to develop the second team
Okay.
with the previous general manager here, Gerard. And the academy was a great opportunity to start on the ground floor, just again to get the idea of learning all the players, seeing what the club is all about. You know, getting into the trenches, so to speak. So when the second team comes online, I have a good grasp of the players that are in our pool, and then now we can decide who is ready to make that jump. And have a better idea, better feeling, better understanding of what we have and what we need to get this second team up and going, and have the right tools and the right profile to help the first team. And now that all of this is online now, it's for me it was refreshing to come in early, because now I can see from being in the first team, being in the academy. Unfortunately, I didn't expect to jump up that early, but look, I was appreciative for that opportunity, and I was, glad that I could help the club out, in times of such tough times.
Yeah.
And again, we found our head coach Pat Noonan, and we're going to work hand in hand to make sure that the club is successful as possible. And Pat's been really fantastic and really open in terms of ideas and communicating with us in the second group as well, just to, hey, whatever we can do to help, just let us know. So from that standpoint, we're really excited, and I'm excited for the opportunity moving forward and see what we can achieve down the road for FC Cincinnati.
Speaking of things that are happening really fast or faster than we expected, you had a lot of young players in Major League Soccer preseason this year, and some of them, I mean, at least from what we were seeing coming out in the reports, played really, really well. That has to be encouraging.
Yes, it has to be, and this now speaks volume for having a second team as well, because now you give them a platform. So okay, I've gone through the preseason, I've showed my quality, and now when you get to the first team and it becomes a little bit meaningful. Now, are you a little bit more hesitant to play those guys because hey, you're not for sure what you're gonna get, but with the second team online, now you can put those young players into the second team to get their minutes. So when you're ready to call upon, they're ready to jump in and hit the ground running. So we're really excited for the talented young players that we have that they showcase, and hopefully, again, giving them this opportunity and this platform to continue to improve and develop. I think Cincinnati is going to be really excited about the prospect of our young talented coming forward.
You said a word that I've heard over and over again, which is getting players minutes. I used to, actually, you guys are going to be playing a lot of your games at NKU. I've done broadcasting there for a former USL club called the Cincinnati Dutch Lions.
Okay.
And one of their big themes, at least when I was there, was giving college player minutes, because the college system just didn't offer enough time, they felt, for players on the field. So especially with you guys, you have guys younger than college. So is that
Yes.
is that the most important thing, you think, is just getting minutes under their feet?
Yeah, I think it's getting minutes, but important minutes, meaningful minutes, the opportunity to compete and to grow. That's very invaluable for a young player, coming out of the academy, and also a young player who's been in the first team that's not getting that quality minute week in and week out. Because look, you have a measuring bar. There's, for example, I've heard a story. Coach said it to me before. 3 lines you drew. Like these guys, the first line was the starters. The second line, the guys who came off the bench and give you a minute, and the third line is the guys who are not playing at all, right? And in order for keep everyone in that same first line, that playing field, this is where the second team becomes valuable now, because those guys who didn't play that are in that second line can drop down and play and continue to develop and be on that same first line. So if you have everyone in the first team, first group playing on that same level line, man, you're going to have a choice to make come Saturday, and it makes it more difficult for the coach to pick a first 11 or 18, and in turn, that it's going to be real competitive, and I think you'll get result from a group like that.
So how is Cincinnati, the organization, FC Cincinnati, viewing this for the future? Because I can imagine you're not expecting humongous results in year one coming out of this. You have signed homegrown players already, but what do you think is the vision? 3-5 years from now.
Yeah, I think the vision is, again, to keep developing and keep transitioning the younger players from the academy up, giving them this platform to showcase their talent. And also having this platform for the younger players in the first team to come back and showcase their talents as well, so that they're ready, when they get called on the first stage. And it's just like European models, you're playing with a big club like Chelsea, for example, and the younger players were not getting minutes. They'll go down and play with their U23 team. So they're playing 90 minutes every week. So once Tuchel call you up and say, hey, you're starting on Saturday, you're ready to go and you won't skip a beat. And that's the whole idea moving forward. So it's a great, I think it's a great platform that we're going to definitely grow and we're going to get better. And I think all the clubs in MLS have stepped in and they're doing it as well because they see the importance of having that second group, because it's just going to help the club on a whole. Again, from the younger boys in the academy come all the way up to the first team. It's just going to provide a very good platform for them.
Yeah, well, speaking of time, I know you have to run. You're going out to help players right now, but we appreciate your time, and I know this will help answer a lot of questions we've received here at Cincinnati Soccer Talk of just what's going on. Can you tell us what's happening? And so we appreciate you sitting down with us.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, for those who are there, and we're going to be at MKU game, so we'll really love the support. Come out and check out the young boys, the young talent that's going to be in the first team in the next couple of years. So it's important that we do get the support from the local fans, and you guys can see the young stars before they get on the pitch. So please come out and support it whenever you can.
Yeah, we'll definitely push that information out as well. But I appreciate your time. Thanks.
Thank you so much.
And that's the interview. And if you're watching live, you get to see me being nervous that somebody's going to walk in my unscheduled conference room, because that's why I keep looking up in that video. So if you listen to the audio, again, our apologies for the quality. Hope it is still educational and you learned a little bit more about FCC2 and the goals, because I don't know if you guys got some new information there. It was a lot of new information for me, because I feel like FCC2 was announced, MLS Next was announced, and then we kind of waited. We found out Tyrone Marshall would be the coach, and then that's why I wanted to talk to him. Like, I just wanted to find out what's the plan, where are we going, what's the future going to be like. Some clubs don't use their current old academy systems. It's a lot easier, I think, to use an academy when you have more steps up, or a ramp up to a first team. But how important is this, do you think, for FC Cincinnati?
I think it's hugely important. I mean, if you look at some of the more successful clubs in MLS right now, the days of going out and buying a really good bunch of foreign players are kind of going away, and you're seeing homegrowns kind of come to the fore. So if FC Cincinnati wants to have long-term success, having a good academy and a good lower league system is going to be really helpful to them.
Yeah, and he touched on Tyrone touched on the just being able to plug and play guys. So play in a similar system that you can still loan, like you mentioned, you can still loan guys out to USL teams, and maybe they'll get minutes, but having it in a controlled environment. And obviously his office it looks like steps down the hall from presumably where Pat Noonan's office is. So if the FCC2 is training out there near the first team, seeing what it takes to make it up, and then once you get guys who are progressing through the system, you'll like have a benchmark for, this guy put in this amount of work and improved this much, and now he's playing at TQL Stadium on Saturdays. This is what it will take for me. So just having this, like you said, another step is going to be hugely important, and you'll have guys who are just ready to slot right in and hopefully improve the first team.
Hopefully no more Ben Luntz getting lost in the flow.
listen here. There's so many goals that you can have out of the academy, out of the MLS2 or MLS Next Pro side. It's a pathway for local players to have an end goal to get that transition into the system. It's a path where you can sign younger players like Steven Jimenez or guys that you might think are on that trajectory to get them contracted to you so you don't just lose them over to Bayern Munich or those other places. And then it's another spot where you keep filling out the roster. You bring guys in, they impress over time, and that is, numbers we'll say 26 through 30, in that group on your roster. So it's we're not having to go rely on the international guns for hire, less risks, but you still have to fund those priorities. It can't just be a mail it in thing that some clubs have done over the years. I think that was a great point. That when you guys said earlier, not funding everything. We want to be like the Union. We want to be bringing those kids up. You see all the stuff coming out of the academy system. I think there's a ID. They're doing their identification, over the past couple weeks, and holding that carrot over these kids. To say, come join our academy system versus going to another pathway, I think will be very helpful in just, keeping that progression together for the club. And, if we can get a kid every 3 years, I think hopefully more than that, but I think that'd be pretty successful in the scheme of things for our club. So, and having a guy like Tyrone staying, I think that means a huge deal for FC Cincinnati, that he's buying into what is happening in the club. Larry Sunderland's been a rock star developing players through the academy in such a short time. It appears we got quite a bit more assets coming through that way. So just glad we got a lot of positivity ahead with this group, and then a guy that is very talented that will be leading it hopefully for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, I'm excited to check them out. NKU is where most games are at. I think there is one probably going to be linked to an FC Cincinnati game at TQL, because they said one will be played at the stadium.
I think it's Columbus.
Makes sense. So we'll have a double header so fans can check out both of those. And then, of course, I believe there's one or two going to be at Mercy Health Training Facility. I live close to both NKU and Mercy Health. I actually live in the middle of both of those, so I am lucky. I'm going to be at most of them. I love lower division soccer anyway. U.S. Open Cup, all this kind of stuff is my jam. So I will be checking these guys out. I hope you guys do too. I think the beer is going to be cheaper. NKU's usually just a few dollars for a beer. So come out, check out the future. This is literally going to be the guys that play for FC Cincinnati, some of them. So, or we can just sit here and complain about why some of them are not playing when they do really good on the two team. So we are running out of time. I will jump into our final thoughts. Thanks for coming on, Jason. We appreciate your work this week with the DC breakdown. I know, So why don't you give us your final thoughts?
My final thought is, this weekend was great, just seeing everybody out. And I'm really looking forward to more and more games at TQL Stadium, hopefully with a lot more better results. But it was great to see everybody, and hopefully the crowd and the excitement stays high throughout the season.
All right, Nate.
Yeah, I'm working on a review piece of last week's game. Hopefully it's not quite done yet, so it'll probably run on Wednesday. Keep an eye out if you're so inclined. And if you've been listening to this whole show, if you made it this far, unsurprisingly, it'll probably have a pretty positive take on everything. But hopefully, I'll be able to make my argument persuasive. If you don't think so, let me know. But yeah, so I think, they're on the right track, and excited to watch some more of what Pat Noonan and this team have in store.
Nate does a weekly article for those of you that are podcast and not website listeners, but it is worth going over to the website once a week just to figure out what Nate wrote, because he's been hitting home runs. And I tell you what, You're embarrassing me because your articles are starting to do better than mine, and I'm gonna have to kick you off if you keep doing that. Brian, you said you're not gonna be here next week, man. What's going on?
Next 2 weeks, baby. Get to go on vacation. No, I like seeing the progression. I think I said last week is that I'm okay taking time for us to be world beaters, but I'm not okay for us taking time to be competent. And there was competence shown, I think, by the staff, by the players on the field, and that made me hopeful. We've got a big challenge this week down in Orlando. Brad's going to have a great March to Match Day covering that game. I'm sure Justin and Coach are breaking down what they saw on the field this past week. So go check those podcasts out. It's been a really great start to the season for our podcast. Been doing really great on the iTunes charts. So we appreciate you guys tuning in for this hobby of ours. So thank you guys very, very much for doing that. But yeah, I just hope to see some continued growth in competence. That's what I think, competence now. So yeah.
All right. Well, thanks again. This is another episode of Cincinnati Soccer Talk in the books. We appreciate you listening. We appreciate you supporting, reading, however you do it. Thanks to all of our fans that have been tuning in live, making this episode fun with all your comments. We read them as we go, even if we don't put them on the screen. And thanks again. As Subes would say, watch your tackles.